spoilers for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. The movie, not the makeup of space and time. Hi guys, I'm Brad and welcome to the script department. I'm joined by Fiona. Hi Fiona.
Hi.
Today we're going to take a look at the multiversal madness of Everything Everywhere All at Once, written by the Daniels. But before we delve into a film that is splitting sides and melting minds in cinemas across the globe, if you haven't done so already, check out our website at thescriptdepartment.net for all our latest projects, including script readings from our international network of screenwriters. Also, you can follow us on social media, hit the links in the description, and subscribe to our podcast. Just search for The Script Department wherever you get your podcasts for daily episodes. So, Fiona, this is a pretty unusual film. It's been described as, which I love. I don't know if the Daniels came up with this. It's called a swirl of genre on anarchy, which is just brilliant.
Yeah. I
Because
think
that's what it is.
perfect. It really is.
It's got butt plugs, hot dog fingers, divorce, daddy issues. It's crazy.
Yeah.
How did you find it? What did you make of it?
Oh my God, I absolutely love this movie. I think it's really divisive. I think it's one of those films that you're either on board or you're not. And for me, I was so on board. I absolutely love it. In fact, I love it so much. I think it's probably going to go into my top 10 movies. I really, really loved it. So many good things about it, from what it does as a movie to just the sheer kind of enjoyment of being in it for 2 hours, 20 minutes. Like, it's a long film. But yeah, absolutely loved it. How about you? What did you think?
Again, same for me. It's so far, I've seen a lot of films this year. So far, it's number one, for the year.
Nice.
Best film of the year to date. I know we're only halfway through,
sure.
but there's been a lot of big films. And this one, the budget wasn't enormous and it came out of nowhere. Like, I'd heard of the Daniels from Swiss Army Man, and that was
Have
weird.
You seen that? Did you see that?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that is just, it's the farting corpse movie,
as
they describe it themselves.
Exactly.
It's a crazy film. It's weird and it is joyful and emotional and much in the same way that this is. But I think this had got, it's just that balance of like weirdness and ludicrous action, like all smooshed together with like an emotional family drama. And I guess it's like a look at the immigrant experience in America as well.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the key things for me was that it is this absolutely nuts sort of genre squashing everything crazy. What's happening? Where am I? What movie am I watching? What planet am I on? Kind of thing. But at the heart of it, it's a family drama, like a really touching family drama right at its core. So what I loved was that it goes out into obviously the multiverse, and it's goes everywhere. But actually, when it comes back to it, it's a really touching story about a family trying to come to grips with itself. An older female protagonist, which I absolutely love because I don't think we're getting anywhere near enough of those in cinema. So that's one of my soapboxes, you will discover. But I love that, and that there it is as a woman who's struggling with her environment and trying to get on top of everything and where she's up to in life is kind of at the heart of this story, but it takes you everywhere. And I love that. I love the sort of the duality of it, that it took you on this marvelous kind of crazy nuts ride, but ultimately it's about something that's universal to all of us.
It's almost like it grounded it, right? There was a level of like normality in the chaos that, I don't know, it feels so appealing as a story, and it is bonkers. The whole thing is bonkers, but it feels like really relatable, and I love that. I think that's for me, that's where people are falling in love with it, because it's relatable chaos.
And I think that's the thing when the few critics that didn't like it, and I noticed the Guardian wrote a review where they really didn't like it, which was interesting. And I think they missed the point on it, because I think maybe they didn't let themselves actually see that story that was running through it, which was about a woman who's trying to get on top of everything. She's trying to keep a business running. She's, in the opening scene, she's cooking for a family. She's looking after her dad. Her business is running downstairs. She's got a husband that she's disconnected from. She's got a kid that she's disconnected from. She's got the tax department, the IRS is after her. She's swamped, she's stretched, she's stressed, she doesn't know who she is. And and it comes back to, I mean that's entirely relatable, isn't it? Like I'm totally relate to that. That kind of, stretched, it's the every woman kind of thing, right, in terms of the protagonist. And I love that, and I love that ultimately it comes back to that idea of, and what I really liked was that the alpha, Waymond, says to her, the reason that you're capable of this is because you're so bad at everything. And I love that line. I thought that's so great. That's so relatable to all of us who feel like we're failing at everything. It's yeah, it kind of really, there was really nice sort of coming home moment with that, which I really liked.
Yeah, I think the relationship, it's almost like it's, I mean, it goes throughout the film, but it's really bookended by the relationship drama. So we open with, as you described, the failing laundromat, and they're being audited, and it's really stressful. You feel the stress and the fact that he's sort of like simpering around with his divorce papers. Like there's this, it is so emotional, even before you get to know the characters, and then when you've got to know the characters, all of the characters, all of the different iterations of the characters, when you get come back into it, sort of full flow in the end. Like I was in tears. I'm not a big open crier in the cinema, but I was just in tears with like five guys that I went to the cinema to see it with, and I was just in the mid, like throughout, I was just laughing so much, just guffawing. So, and everyone in the cinema was. It was one of those films where everyone's interacting. It's not just like everyone's sitting quietly and respectfully and watching the film. There was laughing, there was shouting, and then people were crying. And I was like, that's what cinema should be, to elicit these
Exactly.
emotions.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
there are, I guess you could try and pick out missteps with any part of the film, but anything that was could have been deemed as a misstep was is totally forgivable because of the nature of it. Like the like some, I know the Guardian article talked about getting lost in the absurdity of it, that the
Yeah.
story somewhere
Yeah.
didn't click, but
Yeah.
that was the point, that it was to wash over you. Even the Rakakuni universe with the
Mm.
raccoon on there, that, like, how that happened was like poetic. The fact that it was,
Absolutely.
again, looking at the immigrant experience, it was a mispronunciation of,
Yeah.
or
Of
she
Ratatouille. Yeah.
misremembered it
Yeah.
and then
Misremembered it.
pronounced it
Yeah. Yeah.
Rakakuni
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
Ratatouille, and
Yeah.
then it was a universe
Yeah. Which
later in
is
the film.
fantastic.
And how can you see that coming? Like, I
Yeah.
couldn't see that
Absolutely.
coming. It was just, yeah, it was pretty special. And what was your sort of favorite universe they visited?
Oh, look, it's got to be the hot dog fingers. Like you can't go wrong. I mean, that was absolutely magic. I totally love that, and the whole, because again, it was totally unexpected, but also the way the relationship with Deirdre, the tax
Yes.
investigator, and the way that relationship flipped, and they were kind of lovers with these hot dog fingers, and she was playing the piano with her feet, and it was just like tender and beautiful and ridiculous all at once. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that definitely was. I mean, there were so many to choose from, and I think you're right about. I think one of the beauties of it was that those universes, you just didn't see virtually any of them coming. So every single time you did this verse jump, you were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And it was kind of its
Hmm.
own sort of. So nothing of it was expected at all. I don't think in those, except probably for the one where she goes back in time and learns her martial arts skills,
Yes.
which was
Yeah.
great. But yeah, otherwise, I think they were all just completely unexpected, which was part of the joy of it. You just didn't know where you were going to be one moment to the next.
And it's a wild ride. I mean, that's how it was
Totally.
designed, right? That's what
Mm.
it's supposed to be. And I think the way the different characters were shown in the different universes, I think people are going to be picking that apart for a year or two at least, to try and figure out what each one meant. Because off the bat, people were saying you've got Kei Hui Kwan, Michelle Yeoh, and James Hong, and there were three versions of them that were almost either versions of themselves in real life. So Michelle Yeoh, where she was the kung fu
Yes.
um, like actress
Expert. Yes, actress.
and
Yeah, yeah.
actor, and she
Yeah,
she was, that was a kind of like a parody of her.
for
And
sure.
Ki Hui Kwan, who worked in as a stunt coordinator for years after he did Goonies. Well, he went to film school after he was in Goonies and Indiana Jones. He then got behind the camera and did stunt coordinator, and the fights that he's in are depicting him in real life. And
Yeah.
then obviously James Hong, who's just legend, like to have in any film.
Yeah, absolutely.
But brilliant casting. Played Lo Pan in Big Trouble in Little China. So it's the version of him where he's all of a sudden speaks perfect English, and there's a sinister edge to him. Like a lot of people who've seen who are a fan of Big Trouble in Little China, they're like, that's his Lo Pan
Yeah,
character. And
character.
I think there are so many little things to find in this film. I think we'll be
Yeah,
watching it for years and sort of
definitely,
trying to
definitely. There
find
was
them.
find them absolutely. And there was the moment when Evelyn was the actress, and you could see she was at the premiere, and there was a Crouching Tiger movie posted behind us. So it was fantastic. All those little nods to their other selves, which was fantastic. But I also loved things like when there was in one of the opening, earlier scenes where Deirdre does this leap off the top of the stairwell. They're in the stairwell of the
Oh yeah,
IOS
the
building.
knee
She
drop.
does that, the knee drop, yes. And the knee comes right close to Evelyn's face, and we think, okay, that's it. But then we go into this slow motion kind of kung fu fight. What I loved about it was that there was, because obviously she'd been to the other universe and got those martial arts skills, so she was ready to go. So her martial arts fighting was incredible, but yet her face was still reflecting the universe that she was in, with the like, oh my god, what am I doing, what's happening. And I love that sort of, that all through the movie there were these little flicks where you had the different universes clashing with the present, if you like, which was lovely. So yeah, lots of
Yeah,
great
yeah.
great
Like
moments.
the jumping was a lot, that how they changed how it worked, because obviously when they initially do it in the alpha universe have got their special code that tells them what weird moves they need to
Yeah, they
do.
need to do,
So
yeah.
you're supposed to do an inexplicable movement to gain access, but they got the exact code you need to get to whichever universe. But beyond that, when the alphas fall, as we could say, they do
Yeah.
anything to jump through these hoops to get their next skill. And obviously, there's the butt plug fight, which a lot of people are talking about,
that
which
was
is just
that was traumatic.
bonkers. I mean, we've already said spoilers, so anyone
Yeah,
who hasn't
sorry.
seen this film, go away. Like it's you, we will ruin it for you. But
Yeah.
the butt plug fight, where there's a fight to jam a butt plug into themselves to then jump to a new
To another,
multiverse
yeah.
to possibly get better powers or not.
Yeah,
They don't even know if they're
absolutely.
going to get better powers. Like, so I think, doesn't she jump to a side universe at
Yeah,
one
that's right.
point? And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's
Ends up
just
in the front seat of a RV in the car park
oh yeah,
accidentally.
so it
Yeah,
was an
yeah.
offshoot. That was an
That's
offshoot of her own reality.
Yeah,
So
that's
they'd
right.
made it out of the building in that
Yeah,
reality, and
yeah.
they got divorced in the car.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But
Yeah,
even
and
if, with that, I even love the foreshadowing of that moment where right at the beginning you've got again Deirdre showing her awards as the tax investigator, and I remember was looking at him going, "Is that a butt plug?" Like like, that's a really weird trophy that she's got there. But it was beautiful that it was just left there and then came back to it
yeah,
later in that incredible, yeah, kind of nut scene. It's
there
great.
was a lot of great foreshadowing in this, and
Absolutely.
there were parts of this film that were they felt quite lo-fi, and it was almost like it was high concept lo-fi because it was made for I think 25 million is the figure they've put out there, which by today's standards is nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
So to have, and then the Russo brothers who directed Endgame, they produced this film. So it's like there's all these things that are associated with the multiverse, like huge sci-fi set pieces with, kung fu from different universes, and you'd expect that to cost a lot of money, but the choices they made in this film to have like just it's just a Bluetooth headset, right? The
Yeah.
devices they're wearing.
Yeah, that's
It's just
right.
Bluetooth. I don't think
Yeah.
they probably just got manufactured headsets and put a
Yeah.
light on them.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and it really worked really
Yeah,
well because
it
it
did.
doesn't matter if you have a big CGI thing that transports you. Like it worked. And for example, like some reviews have gone, oh, but the prosthetics and whatever were just rubbish. And it's like, no, they were supposed to be. They were supposed to have that feel like a.
Yeah,
It almost gives it realism. I find. I don't know
exactly.
how did you find
Yeah,
the
no,
high concept
definitely.
lo-fi?
I loved it, and I thought to me it kind of reminded me of like Doctor Who. You know how Doctor Who does that, where they have that sort of deliberate lo-fi kind of thing, and it was like, okay, the hot dogs, all right, well they're obviously not looking like hot dog fingers, but it's that's part of the fun. You kind of go, it's that willing suspension of disbelief, right? You go with it, yeah. Which and I thought because they didn't even, it's not like they attempted it, and or they just sort of were like, okay, we're going to go with Bluetooth headsets, and it's going to be all. They kind of set the bar really early, so
Yeah.
you were in on the ride,
Mm.
no matter what, which was great.
Yeah, I think obviously the Daniels were from music videos originally, and I think
Yeah, that's
the
right. Yeah.
creativity as a director in that, because you don't have a lot of money to do those things, and they came up with some of the best music videos of an era. And it's just that they've taken this into filmmaking. I listened to an interview with them, and they were talking about the scene where Michelle Yeoh or Evelyn flies backwards through the office and ends up in the broom cupboard. And they were talking about wheelbarrows and tilt shift lenses, and like they just did it. There was no
Yeah,
like they just made it work
yeah.
in camera, and it's like great. That is how you've made this thing for 25 million, which is of course 25 million is a lot to me, but in Hollywood, that's
It's nothing.
nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
And I think that was what. Did you see the tweets of Jamie Lee Curtis when
yes,
the movie first came out, saying, really taking on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and saying, well, we didn't need that big a budget to make an equally good film, and even having a dig about the fact that they've even copied our movie poster, and
yeah.
which was kind of funny. But I thought, good on them, good on them for taking it on.
I mean, I think they took it on and won. I mean, I'm a big
Yeah.
Marvel fan, and I think this is still my film of the year so far, like above even the big Marvel films that we've had this year. Um, th- to that point, there've been a lot of multiversal films,
Yes, they
either
have.
this year or last year or the year before. Like, there's quite a trend for it at the moment. I mean, this thing was written in, I think it was 2016.
Okay.
So it wouldn't necessarily be deemed as jumping on the bandwagon, but also a lot of those other films may have been written that early, or if not earlier. So how do you? I think I already know the answer to this from just from what you said just now. How do you think it stands up against the daddies
Oh,
of
look,
the big
yeah, the
$200 million
big
films?
franchises. Yeah, look, I think it does because, and I think this is another sort of hobby horse of mine or soapbox or whatever it is. When I came out of the cinema when I saw this film, there was a person that was in the cinema who really didn't like the film at all. And as we were all walking out, she made it really clear to everybody that why she didn't like the film. And it was kind of funny. And she was saying, it was only the raccoon and the rocks that I liked, and everything else was rubbish. And I thought, I kind of laughed and I thought, well, that's kind of good that it's kind of ruffled her feathers a little bit. But then I thought, well, the downside of that is that kind of now, and I think Marvel is a part of this, and all the franchises are a part of this. The cinema experience these days is largely about serving up of the next episode of something we kind of know what we're like. We know it's going to blow us away and it's going to be amazing, amazing tech and amazing spectacle, but we still sort of know what we're getting. But what I laughed about this movie, and I love that it exists, and that I mean, that's very meta in itself. But I love the fact that this kind of film is in mainstream cinema, and it makes people go, "What the hell just happened?" Like they didn't, there's no expectations of where it came from, where it's going to. It just was this thing that made you think and feel and just blew you away. And I can't think of anything in recent cinema history that has done that in quite that way. And I think that's really good for us as cinema goers. I think we need more of those sorts of films that are unexpected and make it sort of challenge us a little bit. So from that point of view, yeah, I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think there's a divisive nature to it. I think as far as love it or like it, I'm finding a lot of people love it that I didn't think would. I want to try and get it in front of my dad and see if he
Okay.
likes it, because he's quite a harsh critic of film in general. He was quite a big film fan in the 80s and 90s, and I remember him being excited about Spielberg film comes out. But as he got older, I think he soured to the idea of wasting time on films that he didn't like. And
Right. Yeah.
he's from the, well, I'm from the Black Country, but his accent's a lot stronger than mine as I've moved away.
Right.
And most of the time when he watches a film, he's like, "Oh, it was bloody rubbish, didn't bloody rubbish," and that, that's the thing.
Yeah.
But I've got no idea what I think of this thing, because it transcends so many things. I would just love to get that film in front of him. Have you? How many sort of how many people have you spoken to that have seen this film that liked it that you didn't think would?
Quite a lot. So pretty
Yeah,
much a few people were like, I'm not sure, and but most people liked it, and I was, yeah, in some cases I was kind of surprised. It was really that one cinema goer really surprised me, which she really vehemently didn't like it, and everybody had to know. But yeah, I think so, and I kind of think for the same reasons. I think it surprised a lot of people, and I mean it's 2 hours 20, so it is a commitment. But I think if you can stick with it, if you can stick with the story, the poignancy of it and the relatability of it and that family, the universal themes of it, um, can't fail to touch someone if they. And so yeah, I think if your dad can kind of get over the crazy there, I think maybe he'll like it. Who knows?
yeah. Just wait till it comes out on digital,
Yeah,
and then get him over to
Sunday
watch it.
afternoon.
Yeah, that'll be it. Yeah, I mean, for me, parts of the going back to sort of the characters in the film and sort of how we grow to love them, even though we see many versions of them. That I think it's the character script on a script level. The characterization is just so intricately done. Like there is exposition coming out of the everywhere, but
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be, that's part of the
yeah,
story.
yeah.
And it isn't the fact that they've gone, oh well, we need this person to be the, that offers the alpha.
Alpha
Waymond
males.
is the,
Yeah,
he's the exposition machine, but
yeah,
that's the point. Like,
yeah.
he's there trying to convince Evelyn that she's the one that's going to save the multiverse, and it's her reactions to him are one of what an audience might say to an expositional scene, like, "Oh, just get this is rubbish. I'm too busy for this stuff," And there is a level of characterization in there that went into every single version of them, even down to when you get them for a moment, you get a look or a few words or how they hold themselves. For example, the Waymond characters. I think there was three main ones, and I remember hearing an interview um, with Ki Hu Kwan, and he was saying that he got a sort of like a movement coach, and they based each one on an animal.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so the first one is a squirrel, and I think the second one's a fox,
Right.
and then I can't remember what the third one was. The sort of like brooding one. I can't remember what that was, but
Oh, the movie star, the one where she was a
yeah,
movie star.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
that
can't
that
remember what
one.
that animal was, but you can see that in them. You can see
Yeah,
how in a second he'll hold his body differently,
differently. Yeah,
and
for sure.
so there's sort of a marriage between a script and the art of acting in that part, really, in how the characters are brought to life. Were there any sort of parts of how the characters acted or versions of how they changed that sort of really stood out for you, that you'd sort of really saw like that would be hard to
Yeah.
write, or that might be hard
Yeah,
to act?
well, gosh, I mean, through the whole thing, I was thinking, I really need to see this script. Like, what does this script look like? But I think, again, with that Wayman character, um, what I really liked about that, if you go back to that sort of the challenge of Evelyn, the character, who has essentially fallen out of love with her husband, really, and that first Waymond, that sort of original or the present universe Waymond, she doesn't respond to him at all, really, because she gets annoyed by his putting googly eyes on everything. But actually, the beauty of that coming back and understanding that is really lovely. But when he changes into the alpha verse Waymond,
Mm.
that is that assertiveness, that differentness, if you like, both physically but also in the kind of characterization, is what Evelyn starts to pay attention to him. and becomes more open to having, because she's really close to him at the beginning. She was just like, he's just an idiot, he doesn't take anything seriously, I've got all this stuff going on, and he's just, he's just wasting time doing dances with customers, and that almost, I kind of figured, sort of opens her up a little bit to then having that conversation with the third Waymond, who's
Mhm.
in the movie, who's the one that tells her, my being gentle and funny is how I fight. And then she then learns that that's kind of one of her final kind of tools that she learns from him, is that I'm learning about how to fight by having fun, which is then when that whole sort of last act becomes about seeing the fun in things, which I thought was really beautiful. So I liked the way that all of the different Waymonds actually took her, like actually helped her character arc in terms of her relationship with the real Waymond, which I thought was kind of cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wayman's characterization was the initial one was I thought was just great. Like it felt like it brought parts of the actor and parts of the script together perfectly, almost like it was written exactly for him, which it wasn't. It might have been adapted for him once he was cast, but the googly eyes, great.
So
The
good.
bun bag, the
Yeah.
slacks and polo shirt, like just
Yeah.
and New Balance trainers. I think they're New
Yeah.
Balance anyway. But it's just like everything about him, how it was done, and likewise for Evelyn as well. I mean, how they portrayed her as the worst Evelyn, or the least successful Evelyn. I think they even go as far as saying even you're even least successful than the ones who've died. Like,
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
yeah, and it's like
right.
that's like I love that message that they get in there. They've made her that Evelyn, and she plays that Evelyn really well. And obviously, the message of that is for her, the only way is up here. Like you
Exactly.
can only be better. You can only evolve from who
Absolutely.
you are.
Absolutely, but also there's strength in your weakness, right? And for her, who's tries to put this face on of being strong and together at the beginning and trying to keep the family together and trying to cover for the daughter, uncomfortable with talking about her daughter's sexuality to her dad and all those sorts of things, and she's trying really hard, but she's not succeeding at any of it. But then at the end, it's like, well, take all those weaknesses and make them your strength. And I kind of think, you're so bad at everything. You're going to be great at this, So
Yeah.
it was lovely. I think there was some messages in there for all of us. So,
Yes, it was lovely is a great way of describing it because it is just a lovely concept and a lovely film and a lovely story about the family. And I think one thing that I really noticed about the daughter story, that where she tries to tell her father that this is her daughter's girlfriend and her daughter's gay. That was the way it was done 10 or 15 years ago, or maybe longer. And the message of that was I love such and such, my daughter, whoever, even though they're gay, which is a very dated way of looking at that. And she snaps at it and she runs away because it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't be a thing. Do you know what I mean? It shouldn't be like, and the film is now pointing directly at that and going, look, it's not okay to say I like them regardless of, and it's there isn't a regard. There shouldn't be a regardless of in sort of a family dynamic. It's your family. It's just the family, and I think they sum that up so well in just a simple scene. And for a brief moment, it feels like the family are going to disintegrate along with
mm,
all the
it
multiverses.
is.
And yeah, I just love the delicate nature they dealt with that in the middle of all this chaos. Like
Yeah.
it was really touching. I found.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also the sensitivity of that, again, that relationship where the mother is too or is unable to be open with her own father. So the daughter quite rightly reads that as a, well, you obviously value your relationship with him more than you value your relationship with me, which is, and that was great. I thought, it kind of, I mean, which obviously then sets off the whole thing, right? The whole sort of end of the universe, the whole Jobu Tubaki kind of.
It's a great name.
It's a great
It's
name.
so good.
But yeah, so I thought it was really nice, and again, that sort of that flipping in and out from this sort of universal or multiverse kind of worlds and themes and craziness to then this, but actually what's driving it is just relationships and how you feel about people and how you feel, how someone feels about you for how you know, represent them, and all those sorts of things. It was
Mm.
it's really, really great.
Yeah, I mean, it was there was a lot of underlying messages in this, which were they kind of they kind of put them on show afterwards, like towards the end of the film. But it was, I don't know, that it was written in a very specific way, and there were a lot of opinions of. I guess the big question about it is like, what were they trying to say with it?
Yeah.
Did you take like a key thing away? You were like, that's what they were doing with this film. Like, have you got a thing you
Uh,
think they were trying to
yeah,
say?
I actually I also saw an interview with the Daniels that talked a little bit about it, and they were saying that the key thing, they were one of the key things. Well, they created the story around what if it was one of their parents? So they created the Evelyn character and the whole family around one of the parents. So it was obviously Daniel Kwan's family, and the Joy character was based on Daniel, or they based it on both of them as being as sons, as children. And they were talking about the idea of and the kind of thing they were trying to explore was, how do you pay attention to the people you love when the universe is trying to take that away from you? And I guess, when you think about, like, we've got the universe in our pocket these days with our phones and stuff, like there's these constant demands on us about paying attention to people in the most simple terms on a day-to-day basis. So it was kind of like a macrocosm of that. Like, how do you keep paying attention and show people you love them, irrespective of everything else that's going on in the craziness that is the multiverses. So yes, yeah, I think those kind of things, and obviously those things about, ultimately, I loved again that idea of nothing matters. And I think, when Jobu says she creates the bagel because she puts everything on it and all her
The
pain
everything
on it.
bagel, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And she puts all her pain on it and everything, and sesame seeds and whatever, but also everything she feels, because she said, because actually nothing matters. And she said that from a point of um, lacking, feeling lacking as a human, or as a person. And then I liked it at the end where it comes back round to when the family reunite, and I think Wayman says, no, Evelyn says to her, you're putting on weight and you're doing this wrong and this is terrible and this is terrible, but no matter what, I'm going to be here. And then Wayman says, because nothing really matters. And he sort of flipped the narrative around the idea of nothing matters. And I kind of liked that. So for me, that, they were the sort of moments, or sort of three moments, I guess, like, how do you pay attention to people when everything is sort of challenging you for that? The idea that, nothing really matters. If you love your family and you're with your family, everything's okay. And then that idea about, you know, it doesn't matter if you're really crap, because you can use your strengths as a weakness, was sort of the key things for me. How about you? What did you take away from it?
Yeah, I mean, the you said about the nothing really matters, and I think that was played so well because it's both a negative and a positive in the film. So from Jobu Tapaki, she's like, nothing matters. I'm going to. Well, you feel that she's going to end everything and everyone, which for me it was never clear, because she says it wasn't about that. It was about finding someone like me to end it with. But you never know if she was going to destroy the whole universe or just herself. And it's all that's up for debate. I guess some people say it's super clear, but I don't know. It didn't emotionally. It didn't feel clear. It felt like, oh, we're not quite sure what's going to happen if she goes in the everything bagel. But everything, nothing matters, because every possible situation and scenario and version of you exists somewhere else, so nothing matters. But then the family see it as a positive. Like
Yeah,
Evelyn sees it as a positive, so nothing matters. So
yeah,
I just want to be here with you. Nothing else
yeah.
matters.
And it doesn't matter what happens.
Yeah.
Nothing matters, because you're where I want to be, which
Mm.
is beautiful.
And it's really lovely, and saying it back feels a little bit trite.
It
It's
does.
really
It
just
does. But
saying it,
I
like,
know
just
it
watch the
does.
film, don't listen to
Yeah.
us, go and watch the film, we'll ruin it. But
And it makes you cry, doesn't it? It made me cry.
yeah.
And I was thinking, why am I weeping in this movie, which is just nuts. And but it did. It was. I really felt it, and I really felt for the relationship between them. And it makes you think about your own family and all those things. And yeah, it's,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think there's the way they played it was just great. I mean, they
yeah,
flipped the tone a lot as well. So there's like this weird mix of humor and heart-rending drama,
mm.
and then like absurdity and philosophy all like
Yeah,
jammed
yeah,
in there, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like they'll flip between the two at the instantly,
yeah,
and you'll find yourself laughing at one, and then you're crying immediately. And there's
yeah.
again not trying to sound trite, but it goes right back to like it feels like the quite classical trope of a hero learning to be kind and brave and seeing the good around
Mm,
you. Like those are
mm,
classic
yeah,
things, and they feel, to look at them on paper, they feel like a cheesy thing.
mm,
Like, oh, the hero who learns how to be brave and kind at the same time, like a Disney
mm.
film kind of thing. But it's not trite. It isn't trite.
No,
Like they play it so well. Like there's a
yeah,
symphonic nature to the way they 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 dish out the feels, I guess, in this film.
definitely. Did you? How did you feel about the rocks? A lot of people talk about the fact that they find the rocks very moving. What did you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. I mean, it's the only moment of stillness
Mm.
in the film, and there is a really genuine level of connection between these two rocks, and you're looking at a film of two rocks, and you inside are conflicted, but you are really connected with what you're seeing. I just think it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And then when they stick the googly eyes on them as well, and they
Oh
start to
yeah.
try and move, and they're like, "You're not
And
supposed to
one
move. You're
chases
a
the
rock."
other. And then when
Um,
the rock, one rock throws itself off the cliff, and the other
mm,
rock goes after it, which was again was like the ultimate sort of parental sacrifice.
yeah,
And I thought, yeah, because all those things. I mean, all those ridiculous things that we draw out of two rocks sitting on on a cliff of nothing. It was
yeah.
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think the tone and the approach to storytelling is quite unique. I mean, it's a duo, so of course it's going to be very different to a solo filmmaker, because there's two heads on it. There's literally two strings of consciousness going into creating the narrative. I think one of the earlier films they did, which was a short film, they were still doing music videos at the time, was 2011. um, I can't remember the name of it now. I think it was the Puppet or Puppets, and it was a similar kind of craziness. That I think it was these. I haven't seen it in a couple of years. It was these two lovers,
Right.
and they get into this crazy fight,
Right.
and then I think the Daniels, if I remember right, the Daniels burst out of them and then start using them like puppets. So it's about, they're the directors obviously, and
Right. Yeah.
they put their hands up them, and it's like, oh yeah, like it's those guys. They made this amazing film, and they made the farting corpse film,
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
right.
I'm excited to see what they come up with next,
Yeah,
because yeah, they are interesting guys
they
to come up
are.
with this
They
kind of
they
stuff.
absolutely are. I don't think one person could have come up with that alone. I really don't. I mean, I may be wrong, but I just it kind of felt like it was because it was so obtuse in a way. And it's like when you have those great creative conversations with friends and you sort of ideas ping off in all directions and stuff. But it was like that on steroids. It was like, how do these guys what is their ideation process? What is how I'd love to be a fly on the wall during that creation process because it would be absolutely fascinating to see where it comes from and how they develop it. Amazing.
I think I think it took like 5 years, and I don't know if that was
Wow.
pandemic affected,
Yeah,
but it
maybe so.
was. You can see how long this kind of thing would take to write. I
Oh,
mean,
for sure.
visually they know how to do stuff. I mean, they did turn down for what, the music video, which won so many awards, and then they've moved into like really like feature length, long form content, and they're still taking across the creativity of short form
Short
music
form.
videos, like 3, 4, 5 minute videos,
Yeah.
and it's it's a good sign, I think, for the
Yeah,
the industry,
definitely.
because we could have, as a writer, I mean, we could have. I at times, although I love the Marvel films, I've been worried that that's what people are want people to write, and that fine. If,
Absolutely.
if if someone asks me to write a Marvel film next week, I'll write it. But
Yeah, sure.
but it's like to see what they've done with the budget they've got. There's sort of a hope of these crazy independent films. There's still a desire for them, and personally, I didn't know I'd got a desire for it. I
Yeah,
was excited
absolutely.
about when Spider-Man came out, Doctor Strange,
Yeah.
Loki, all the Marvel properties.
Yeah,
There were
yeah,
some
yeah.
big films. Top Gun 2 I was quite excited about,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I didn't know I saw the trailer. I was like, I would need that. That is what I need,
Yeah,
and I felt
absolutely.
I did. I think everyone needs films like this right
I
now.
think so. I think cinema needs films like this, and I really think we need. I feel like in recent years we've really shifted away from well, we have independent films and things that are just out of the box genre and things that genre bend and yeah make us think and are unexpected and don't serve us up that same sort of porridge of cinema that we kind of we know we know what we're going to get kind of thing. So I really liked that. It gives me hope, and certainly it gives me hope as a writer as well. It's like, gosh, you'd want to write that, right? I don't know how you could write that, but yeah, it's really exciting. I think it's a really exciting time, and hopefully it will, because it's done really well at the box office. Hopefully that will encourage more appetite for it on
Mm.
at a producer level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there was a relatively limited um, release. Well, I say it wasn't like an official, like a limited release, like you get with some of the indie stuff that goes to Cannes and things like that. I know this did go to Cannes, but I'm talking about the tiny films that they're not designed to make a profit. But I don't think if at my local cinema it wasn't on for long. There was a gap, and then it came back. It's almost like the theaters went, "Oh, hang on, people really want to see it. We're going to put it back on," because it was so
We've had
absurd. I
phone
don't.
calls.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like they didn't know what to do with it. And like
Yeah.
again, from a script point of view, great. Like there's these weird scripts that people don't know what to do with, and they are bonkers, but people are asking for them, and it's like
Yeah, definitely.
wonderful. This could
It
be
is.
a wonderful change in the sort of the writing landscape, which I'm
I
quite
hope so.
excited about.
I hope so. Hey, did you think were there any downsides to it?
I don't know. Like I really really like it. So it's hard to be objective because it's my, like I said, top film this year. I loved it. There were certain parts of it where I felt it slowed a little, particularly in the middle. There were a couple of relationship, just blips of the relationship amongst all the chaos, which is what it was designed to do. But I don't know. It almost felt like that was breathing time
Mm,
because you can't go crazy all the time, right? You need
mm.
you need some
Yeah, some
some
quiet, some
respite.
stillness.
Were there any parts of it that you weren't sure of?
Only I think so it was split into the three kind of acts, if you like. And I think in the first one, the everything one, well, I just felt generally, I think it might have been if I had one criticism, it's that it was a tiny bit too long. I think it could have achieved the same, maybe 10 minutes less. Um, and I think for me, the bit that I wavered a little bit was at the end of that first act, if you like, with the everything, where the people of the Alphaverse were charged with going and trying to find Evelyn, and it was all kind of crazy. And I thought that it probably could have been achieved with the kind of crazy could still have been achieved with all those characters just being essentially hench people of
Mm,
uh
Jobu.
Jobu, yeah, and so that was the only thing, but it's a tiny thing. It is
Mm.
it is hard to be critical because it's yeah, just such a gem.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There was a level of absurdity to the amount of people that became more than side characters in a way.
Yeah.
Like the security guard, he was
Yeah,
brilliant,
it was so good.
brilliant. And there was the lady with the dog. She's quite a
Oh
big
yeah.
comedian,
Oh,
isn't she? I can't remember her name.
and I think there were quite a few kind of well-known people that had those parts. I was looking earlier and that yeah, had those parts that were kind of sort of not quite bit parts, but not quite
Yeah,
main. They're kind of weird, but were nuts, and
yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah, I mean,
also,
that's some of the martial artists. They apparently they found online,
oh wow,
so they were
okay,
just like, I mean, the two main ones. the brothers. So they both the brothers with the book in the book plug fight. They've been
Oh,
on
yeah, right.
they've been on a couple of Marvel films, I think.
Right.
And so that they were established,
Right.
early in their careers established. But
Right.
I think some of the guys they just it's found online, and
Wow.
when they can backflip and whatever else, and it was just it
With
was
parkour or something.
great.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Oh, that's
Yeah,
nuts.
I did love it very much. If one last question,
Yes.
if our universe got destroyed, don't know why, just got destroyed, and you had to live in one of those universes, which one would you pick? Which
Oh,
crazy
gee.
multiverse would you choose to live in?
Which multiverse? There were so many juices. Look, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say Hot Dog World.
You'd say hot
It
dog
was just
fingers.
so nuts, and I just want to be able to play the piano with my feet. Like that was kind of exciting as well. So yeah, definitely, I loved it.
I loved the hot dog fingers. Like the it started off as farce, and the emotion that comes through their
Absolutely.
relationship is just crazy. They've got a wobbly. It's just brilliant.
What about you?
I'd personally go for the Rakakuni
Oh yeah,
universe.
okay, that was ace as well.
I was crying in laughter at that because I spotted the raccoon's tail early on.
Right.
You know where she drops the egg. She
Oh
cuts
yeah,
to she's at the teppanyaki restaurant. She
yeah,
drops the
yeah.
egg, and he goes, "I'm going to fire you. You're not
Oh,
like
I
such and such."
see.
And he'd got and
Oh, I
I
didn't
didn't
see that.
really. I thought, oh, like he's just got a weird haircut or
Again, there's
something.
the
And then
foreshadowing.
he'd got the raccoon on his head, and the raccoon was who's the guy who does the is it Randy Newman who does the Toy Story
Oh, I
music?
think so.
Randy Newman, I think it's Randy Newman,
I
and
think so.
he did there's some music playing about cooking together in like classic Randy Newman style, but he's also the voice of the raccoon. Like it's like why? It's just crazy.
It was really good
Um,
though. Also, like technically, I don't know what that was, like whether like robotics or whatever, but it was great. It was really it
I'd
was
like to
really
think it was a
fantastic.
puppet. Like I
You
mean,
think?
it was really yeah. It was great, and how he was, I love you, Rakakuni, and they were like putting each other on the shoulders and pulling their hair. It was just great. I'd live in
Good.
that one.
Would you? Okay, well that's
Yeah,
fair enough. I think that's a pretty good world to live in too. So look, we're set. Should it all hit the fan, we're okay.
yeah.
We
We've
know where
just
we're
got to
going.
know the random order of things that we need to
How to
do to
get there.
get to
Exactly.
that. Otherwise, you'll end up as a rock if you're not
Yes,
careful.
exactly. Or in someone's RV or something. Some random road somewhere or something. I don't
Nice.
know. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Fiona. I think it's fair to say we both love this
Oh,
film.
it's a shame that one of us didn't hate it, really, wasn't it? Because it would have been kind of interesting to see those differences. But it's such a great film. I mean, I'm really glad that you
Yeah.
really loved it too. But
Yeah, I did. I can't wait to watch it again. I
me either.
really, yeah, I'm really
Yeah,
looking forward to it. And anyone who hasn't seen it, we've now ruined it for you, but just go
you
and see
have.
it anyway. We can't put it into
No,
words.
it's one of those films
Yeah,
you can definitely see a few times without worrying, without a problem. You could go back and you'll get more out of it every time you go and see it. So don't worry that we've spoiled it. Just go and enjoy it and, feel the love, Keep an open
it
mind.
is.
It's a beautiful
Yeah,
thing.
I think "Feel the Love" is a lovely way to wrap this up. I mean, it's lovely. It
It
is
is.
very lovely, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very unusual. And
It is.
yeah,
All of
it is
those
a great
things.
film.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Fiona. That was a lot of
It's a
fun.
pleasure. I hope your dad likes it.
Yeah, I'm going to get him in front of it
Let us know.
and see what happens. So thank you very much for listening, guys. This has been The Script Department. Please check out our website at thescriptdepartment.net for more conversations like this. Take a look at our social media. The links are in the description. And find us wherever you get your podcast. Just search for The Script Department and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Nice one.